Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mondays with Marty. How has being ambicultural helped me to make myself a successful entrepreneur? I want to share that with you today. But in order for me to share that with you, I want to make sure that first we cover our bases. Welcome to Mondays with Marty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so incredibly grateful you're here. I want you to know that I have been doing lives on Facebook, but I have decided to transition over here to YouTube. So, what does it mean to be ambicultural? For some, I want to make sure, for some that you think about it, it could mean being able to navigate between two cultures with ease. It could also mean living in two cultures at the same time. But what does it mean really to be ambicultural? For me, it means embracing both cultures, both of my cultures, and being open to new experiences. For others, it could be a way of life that celebrates both cultures equally. The interesting part about this was that since I was a chica, una niña, I knew something was different because even though I was born in the US, here in San Diego, when I went to school, my first language was Espanol. I could not speak a lick of English. And I remember so vividly, when you're a child, everything is easy. You don't worry about differences, cultural differences, or anything else. I remember so vividly across the street from us, we moved into a new neighborhood, and across the street from us was a Filipino young lady, and she also didn't speak English. She only spoke Tagalog. But we understood each other. How? We were children. We laughed, and laughter meant, it was great. And then we used a lot of sign languages, and, we used what was called children's languages, right? But being an ambicultural person is a person that enjoys two cultures equally. But one of the things is that no matter how you define being ambicultural, it truly means that you have a very strong sense of self. And it also means that you have a strong sense of who you are as an individual. But it also means being conscious about letting go and allowing yourself to explore other avenues. Being a first generation for me meant being a leader in my career in a business, and being ambicultural just enhanced that. It also meant that I would forever be in this mode of learning, and to this day, I am what I call a lifelong learner. I think the biggest thing that being ambicultural has helped me with is not to be afraid of stepping out of my comfort zone. I've always been able to relate to people and make friends in foreign situations. But now I can do it with a lot more confidence. And I think it's a matter of that ambiculturalness that I possess. For the longest time, I thought that I was caught in the middle. I was never white enough. I was never, Hispanic enough. I was never, I could never really identify where I was until most recently when I really began to define my worth, my strength, my successes, And I began to really write down all of my successes, and all of my successes, both in business, in life, came from being this ambicultural mujer. It was critically important for me. It was like a catharsis, right? Just everything went, and I knew exactly, what I was doing. All of a sudden, all of this that I thought was bad was actually really good. But instead of being that, when I was a kid, instead of just being that little dark girl and continuing that little dark girl, archetype throughout my life, I actually used it as a strength, and I now am a confident Latina boss lady. But like I said, it wasn't always that way. I can tell you a lot of things that had to happen in order for me to end up right here where I am speaking to you with confidence. Let me jump into story here, and when I'm done, please let me know. Drop me a comment. Let me know. Do you relate? Do you know someone that can relate? You see, when I took a look at my childhood, my adolescence, all the way through my adulthood, and now in the sunset of my life, I see that the issues that I face, being caught in the middle, not really being Hispanic enough and not being white enough, and living in San Diego because I was born and raised here in San Diego, I felt a need to prove myself. I grew up trying to prove myself, siempre, todo el tiempo. Being the firstborn in my family, also in my familia, meant that I was on a path to create many firsts in my life. An example, I'm not going to give you everything because, like I said, I'm in the sunset of my life, so it will take a long time for me to share every single first. But just an example of some of the firsts that have happened in my life. I was the first child to be in my family a childpreneur. I was an entrepreneur, my friends, at the age of 6, right? Because I wanted something so badly, I figured I could be an entrepreneur. I could sell Christmas cards door to door. It said so in my comic book. Being that I was an avid reader, I read, and then in the back there were pages that were advertisements. So, there was a big advertisement put out, sell Christmas cards, make money for Christmas. And I wanted something very big and very special. So I wanted to make sure that my parents didn't have to put out, but that I was going to give myself, my first Christmas gift. So I was the first childpreneur. I was the first to be a professional dancer in my family. Come to think of it, the only one. And I was the first to be an ambassador for the city that I lived in. A student, people to people student ambassador, where I got to represent and give the key of our city to mayors of European cities. That was amazing. I was also the first girl in the family to end up going to university. And I was also in that university only one of 5 Latinas in the School of Business at SDSU. I was the first one in my family to get a master's degree. I was the first one to have a career and a side hustle. Well, and I can go on and on and on. You get the picture. But the point is here that all of these firsts, these are the good things. These are the things that I focus on. There are many other firsts that were not so pretty. And it's so funny because as an ambicultural woman, I always needed to, like I said, prove myself. But I do want to share with you that being all those first wasn't easy. And I seem to I attract a lot of firsts in my life. And every single first that I've attracted, I have learned from. And I am always in the space of being so incredibly grateful for every first in my life. I was the first, most recently, I was, the first teacher in my life. I was the first, but in the business world, I was the first to be a network marketer. I was the first to be the affiliate marketer. I was the first to be a digital marketer. I was the first to be a social media professor. I was the first, and I can go on, and I'm the first biz coach for Latinas. And I just want you to understand that all of these firsts really came with some hard and tough situations. They didn't come without problems. Nunca, nunca, amigas, nunca piensen que todo es fácil, right? Everything you want in your life that is worth having is worth working for. But through it all, how did being ambicultural help me? I really think that because of the fact that I had to learn to navigate the waters of the white world and the Hispanic world, and to be able to navigate those waters so that I wouldn't tip over and get lost in the sea of delinquency. Because a lot of people that are ambicultural have that stressful knowing that, that they could actually go to the dark side or the light side. But I'm very lucky that I was able to navigate these waters of delinquency of ambiculturalness without falling into delinquency. So through it all, I learned to be strong. I learned to be consistent. I learned to forge ahead and to focus and to really be clear and focus and be driven even when you don't feel like it. How did I learn this? I learned this from watching my mama, my mamacita, and my padre. They were both job people, and then they were both entrepreneurial people, and they were both the straddler that I am, or that I was for the very long time, until most recently that I decided to become a full-on entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur. I am now a full-time entrepreneur, something that I haven't done in my life. So now I am learning to navigate new waters, right? But being a job and what I call a jobpreneur person and an entrepreneur person came at a price for my parents. But I never saw them ever. They never complained about having too much to do. They instead always said that they love what they did inside their businesses. So what went in here was the fact that when you do a business, make sure you love what it is that you're doing. You see, when we have a job, we can't always pick. Sometimes we have the need to make money for our families, and we fall into the trap of we choose the money over the happiness, and that's okay. I don't want to put anybody down. That's okay. But from doing that, I learned from watching my parents how much they enjoyed their businesses, how much they enjoyed their entrepreneurial journey. I learned to be fuerte. I learned to be amable. I learned to be grateful. And I learned that every day inside my business was a blessing. And that each day that I got to wake up and open my eyes and be a testiga of life, I learned to be grateful. So I ask you again, how has this all helped me be a better entrepreneur? Well, it's given me a very fresh perspective on knowing that being ambicultural has really helped me. And I embrace that now. I am an ambicultural woman. Sometimes it takes a lot of work to move through your business. I know, I get you. But if you have a mission and you have a vision, you can move forward because of that strong why. You see, we talk about what's your why, what's your why, what's your why. And sometimes we're finding that the why isn't really there. But if you focus on what's your vision, what would you like your life to look like? What would you like for people to remember you by? And um, I remember somebody asked that, and it took a long time, but here's what I love. And even when I was a teacher, even when I was an educator, even when I was a principal, I wanted to make sure that I would leave a legacy of Latina leaders behind me, those that said that when I passed, that my epitaph would say, that they would put it on there and say, because of you, Professor Marty, Coach Marty, because of you, I never quit. So because of that, that's my why. That's why I keep going. That's why I never quit, because I can't quit on you. If you're one of my coachees, if you're one of my mentees, I can't quit on you. Like I said before, my vision is to leave a legacy of Latina leaders behind me. And that is something that is so powerful. And it's so 2022 now. Being Latina is like cool. There are people saying they're Latinas that aren't Latinas. But here's what I love that I get to help the bilingual Latina women entrepreneurs, mujerpreneurs that I call them, gain clarity and focus on who they serve so they can up level from brick and mortar to click and order so they can rock their six-figure biz. Why? So that they can live a life of their dreams. And let's talk a little bit about the dream. What is a dream? ¿Qué es un sueño? My friends, being ambicultural also meant the fact that I was exposed to two different cultures, but there are some things that were hidden from me because of the fact I was ambicultural. Like I said before, I wasn't white enough, and I wasn't Hispanic enough, and because of that, there were some things that, as I was going through high school, I remember very, very vividly. My counselor, he didn't even know that a Latina could be more than just an executive secretary. So if you take a look at the yearbook, it'll say Marty, and then underneath it'll say, what did you want and what do you want to be in life? And the only thing I remember saying to my counselor, I want to be the highest, I want to have the highest position I can possibly have. And you know what he said at that time? You can be an executive secretary. So that's what's on there. Lo and behold, I woke up because I want to be honest with you. I could never pass the typing test. So if I could never pass the typing test, I for sure was never going to be that secretary, that executive secretary, right? So I figured I better go to college. Thank God I had a male cousin, because like I said, I was the first to go to college. A male cousin that said, okay, if you can't type, baby, you better get to college. So that's important for us to realize, that we've got to keep going. But here's one idea that I want to make sure that I leave you with. I want to leave you with that when you know your entrepreneurial archetype, which means that you know your strengths, knowing that you are this type of a person, this type of an entrepreneur, knowing that those are your strengths helps you to know who are going to be the people you look for to be your collaborators. We need to know our strengths as well as our weaknesses, but our strengths, if we can capitalize on our strengths and capitalize on the fact that these are the weaknesses, so these are the areas that I'm going to find collaborators in. Then together we make this strong bond. So my strengths and somebody else's strengths come together, and we make this really, really strong bond. Juntas podemos más. Juntas podemos más. Together we can do this better. And together we can make that collaborative effort. We need to learn. We're in 2022. We need to learn to be more collaborative. We have lived a life that has shared, the fact that you got to do it yourself. You got to go up there. You got to be the leader. But being a leader, if you have nobody to lead, what good is being a leader? So when you know your entrepreneurial archetype, you can be a strong leader through collaborative efforts, through collaboration. You see, collaboration is the key to your success. Have you ever heard that old adage? We're raised by, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to raise a business. I'm sorry, but Jeff Bezos did not do it by himself. There was always, if you think of all the big oligarchs, all of the big billionaires, they didn't do it by themselves. But yet, way down here, before you get to that six-figure level, you're still in that mentality that you can't, that you got to do this by yourself. So I just want to ask you, do you know your entrepreneurial archetype? No? Well, then let me share the free tool that I've created with you. Created with you in mind. Yes, with you in mind. And it's really easy. It's a quiz. It doesn't take more than maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And you can figure out what is your archetype so that you can begin to really know who you want to pick as collaborators. All you have to do is go to www.martyangel.com and the quiz will pop up. Take the quiz and it'll be easy. Tomen el quiz de ver what is your entrepreneurial archetype. And then you can begin to learn what makes you tick as an entrepreneur, right? What makes you tick? Like I said before, how has being ambicultural helped me succeed in business? Because I learned what makes me tick. What makes my American side tick, what makes my Latina side tick. And you're going to learn what makes you tick as an entrepreneur. And then you will begin to give yourself the key to success, the key to who you may want to collaborate with to enhance your weaker points, right? I hate to use the word weaknesses, but so that you understand. I also learned that you must trust your gut. To be fuerte when you think you can't. Trust your gut. Be fuerte even when you think you can't. So sometimes I think back and I say, what keeps me going? What keeps you going, Marty? I talk to myself a lot and I even answer myself. What keeps me going is the learnings that my madrecita and my padre taught me. Ser fuerte, stay consistent, and remember to be humble, and you will succeed. Humbleness. I want to share this with you. Humbleness does not mean weakness. Just because I'm humble, because I'm quiet and I stand back and I allow somebody else to take the stage and somebody else to be glorified, doesn't mean that I'm weaker. No quiere decir que soy menos fuerte que tú. It just means that I am humble. And I love being a servant leader. I love being a servant leader. There are many people that I have helped throughout my life without expecting anything in return. And I think that being ambicultural and being that humble person also made me the great caregiver that I was for my madrecita before she passed a few months ago and she went to the other side. If you would love to ask me any questions regarding this, I would be honored to be your mentor, your coach. I would love for you to reach out to me anywhere on social media. My my handle is at Marty Angel, and that's Marty with an I, Marti, Angel underscore ELC for the Empowering Latina Coach, because I want to empower you to rock your six figures so that you can live your best life. That would give me so much felicidad. That would be amazing for me to be able to help you. So send me a message. Take the quiz. You might be surprised. I invite you to take the quiz. No, I challenge you to take the quiz. Then let me know what your entrepreneurial archetype is. And as always, I am so incredibly grateful for you watching today. Remember that I do not believe in accidents or coincidences. That which is meant for you will find its way to you. So if you found your way to this message, or this message found its way to you, then leave me a comment below, say hi, and subscribe to my channel. Marty Angel, Coach Marty Angel. And I plan on being here every Monday at 2:30 every Monday, where I give you tips to rock your biz and live your best life. Where I come on every Monday to give you tips to rock your biz and live your best life. Right? So, next Monday, you can find me right here. You can find me right here. You can also find me on Mujer de Éxito, Unbounded, Woman of Success Without Limits podcast. Yes, I'm a podcaster. I love speaking life into all of my Latina leaders. So thank you once again. Have a great one. And let's go out there and rock your biz. Namaste.